another beginning of the end story, how I knew my marriage was hurtling straight for divorce. I had been a trad wife for about 10 years, and during the pandemic, my ex-husband was working from home, like most people, and at least when he went to work, I kind of got some relief, even though I was still on. I had some peace during the day. With him working from home, I had no peace, and he was completely reliant on me to emotionally regulate him. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, if he's not going to leave the house to go to work, I'm going to. And I'd always been wanting to go back to work. I tried a couple entrepreneurial avenues. I even got a real estate license, and those things were all sabotage, stories for another day. But I quietly started job hunting, and I had gone to the store, and I got a call from a place and scheduled an interview. And I knew not to tell him right away. I do my shopping trip, and on the way home, I call him and I tell him, great news. I have an interview scheduled for later in the week. And he is completely silent for a solid, probably like 30 seconds. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you think about it, 30 seconds of silence on a phone call, that's an eternity. And then the first thing he says is that really what you want to do? And I knew the risk I was taking by going back to work. And I knew that it potentially would end my marriage. I ended up finding a job, and my first day back to work was December the 7th. And the last time I ever saw my ex-husband to this day was December the 11th. We actually broke up long distance. Nearly 15 years together, 11 years married, we broke up over the phone because on December the 11th, he had decided that he needed to go to a winter home in Florida. And he knew I was not going to go with him. I didn't feel comfortable traveling during COVID. And I also wanted to really focus on work. I hadn't worked in almost 10 years. So he insisted that he had to go. And over the next 3 months, what would happen is he would refuse to come home. And he would also refuse my offers to come visit him unless I was going to stay for at least a month. In other words, he wanted me to basically jeopardize my career again. And eventually it became too much, and I told him to contact his attorneys and file the paperwork.